Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're looking at Martin Sexton, and this is coming from 2008, and he's going to be playing through Shine On, You Crazy Diamond. So let's get Martin up on screen and see how he gets on. I'm just going to jump in here because we've got a good flavour of it so far, and some people will be wondering what the hell went on when he went into the guitar solo. I say the guitar solo, what's happening is he's singing into what looks like an SM57 mic, just a standard mic, but then he's going through a distortion pedal, so what you're hearing is the distortion being added to the voice, and it sounds like a guitar, and this is where Martin's talent and his ability as a singer really shines through, because he's mimicking the sound of the guitar with his vocals by putting his vocal through that overdrive channel effectively, but still getting the same expression you'd get from a guitar. It looks like he's also got a pedal on there that he might be using for volume in order just to fade in some of the notes, which we might be seeing later. But in terms of a unique effect and a unique sound, it's certainly one of those things that absolutely takes you by surprise and makes you think, well, what's going on there? Because once you notice that he's not actually playing those lead notes on the guitar, you then realize that it's got to be his vocal cords that are making this sound through that distortion pedal. So really impressive stuff. Getting into the rest of the performance, before we get to that point of having that solo, we've got such a dynamic performance here, the way that Martin just builds it up, and also the way that he's tuned his low E string, because that is way down there in that bass register. So it means that he's getting the bass line, and if you watch it, you'll be able to see him playing it with his thumb, just running that bass line down so that you get this really full sound. And there is so much going on there the way that he's singing as well, such a great voice, but so atmospheric, this performance, because he's got such great control with his voice, but not only that, on the guitar as well. When you add the elements of just the standard tuning to that bass line, it really does give such a well-rounded sound. The other thing that works really well is when he does go over to play, I keep saying to play that lead solo, to sing that lead solo. Because of the sound and the tone that he's got there, it just totally sets it apart from the rest of the track and the performance, because the dynamics are really down low when he's singing and playing with that running bass line and the chords. As soon as you get into that lead, it really does kick it into overdrive. And it is such a cool sound. It's one of those really unique things. Somebody sent me this video asking me whether he was using a talk box, and for a talk box to be used, you're still playing your guitar. That's what's providing the sound. But here, it's just purely his voice, which is really impressive. A little bit later on, there'll be tiny little elements where you might hear a bit of his voice in the effect, and that's where you can hear that he's singing it. But to even be able to sing with that expression of a guitar is so difficult, and this is the first time that I've ever seen it done. This was back in 2008, and it's such a cool thing to see and to really look at, try and analyze it and break down, well, what's actually going on there? So it's really clever stuff, but not on a level where you don't need any talent and you can just buy it and then it works. You've got to have the talent to be able to make this work, and that's why I don't think I've ever seen it before done by any other artist. Of course you have talk boxes, but I'm talking about actually having a guitar solo that sounds like an authentic solo with your voice. And if you don't know of Martin, he moved to Boston in 1988 and he just started to play open mic nights and busking, and he made his own album which was called The Journey, and he just sold that to his fans totally independently, not on a major label or anything, and he sold 15,000 copies of that. So he's one of these guys, and is still one of these guys, that he's set up his own record label now, but he's just an independent musician just doing these kind of performances, really stripped back but really cool stuff. And even though he's just an independent guy selling his own music, in 1994 he did win the Artist of the Year award from the National Academy of Songwriters, and I think now he's got the Martin Sexton trio, so it's more of a band setup now, but certainly back when he was doing these solo gigs, just selling his own CD at his shows and just doing it his own way. Let's get into a little bit more of the performance.
Something so strange as the war got me down. You're gonna be your damn fool. Driving tonight just to ease my mind. Man in this world's most dangerous kind. There was a time my mind went blind, couldn't see the sign of the time. Years went on by before I wondered who or where or what. Oh, why loving you was like loving a house on fire. Burning like baby when the damage was done. And now I'm tired of staying wide open to the rest of my life. And I'm almost oh, I'm sitting up and hoping that you will be found. 'Cause I just can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about you.
just going to jump in here because we had a little bit more of an indication of the way that Martin was using his voice to get that lead guitar sound when he was singing along with the guitar. Because when he's changing the vowel sound to more open sounds, you can start to hit a bit of the voice in there. But then when he closes that sound, and you can see sometimes when he is singing into the mic, he's almost got a closed mouth. Obviously, he's still singing, but he's getting that really clean voice. Obviously, we can't hear it because of the overdrive and what's going on with it, but it'd be great to hear what tone he's actually getting through that mic without the distortion on it, because it sounds like he's getting a really, really clean, biting head voice tone that he's then putting through that distortion sound. First of all, having the range to be able to hit these notes that he's hitting on the guitar, especially when we're getting up high, 15th fret and 12th fret and 15th fret up there, especially on the high E string. That's kind of crazy for a guy to be singing up there. But in order to get the same sound as a guitar, it is so difficult. You can hear the way that he tails off the end of those vocal lines, so it's almost like a dive at the end of the notes. So he's worked at that in order to get it to sound like a guitar. It is absolutely an authentic guitar sound, which, if you weren't watching it, you would assume that he was playing the guitar or that somebody was playing a guitar solo. And this really does bring into focus two things. First of all, how much talent there is out there, and that so much flies under the radar that you might never have heard of because they're not signed to a major label and don't get a lot of publicity. But there are guys that are out there who are arguably more talented than people that you will know about. The second thing that this draws your attention to is guitar playing and guitar solos, because if you can sing a guitar solo like Martin can here and get it to sound this good, then it is a great indication of where you should be aiming for in your own solos. And I mentioned this about the greatest guitarists and the greatest composers of guitar solos do it in such a way that you can sing it back. It is slow enough that your vocal cords can replicate what's being played on the fretboard. There might be times where you want to throw in a little bit of extra speed playing just to mix it up a bit, but this is a fantastic example of somebody using their voice, but you think it's a great guitar solo because of the way that it's phrased and the way that it's put together. The great thing about this video is that we've got so many different elements to it. You've got all the dynamics in there that you could want to have, both on the guitar, but also the voice that Martin's got and his tone. And then you've got this side order of something different, something unique, and something that you might not have ever seen before. So it's bringing all of these elements together. Sometimes you'll have a performer who has a party trick, but they're not very good as a singer or a player because it's all about the party trick. Whereas that's absolutely not the case here. We've got a seasoned professional and performer in Martin who also gives you that cherry on top of something unique and something different that you haven't seen before. You can see how everybody's listening to every single word that Martin's saying, just by the way that when he starts singing, it's quiet enough that you can hear the crowd just applauding and getting into it, but then they all die down because they want to hear this subtle performance and the dynamics that are involved in this performance. This is a great video for so many different reasons, because of the level of ability we've got here from Martin on the guitar, but also vocally, and then somebody who's thinking outside the box in order to get down a guitar solo with your voice. And also it's great just to shine a spotlight on an artist like Martin, who's an independent guy who many people would never have heard of. I certainly hadn't have heard of him before I started checking out this video, and this was requested probably maybe 6 months ago or something like that, and it's just taken a long time for me to get to this particular video. But once you start checking out Martin and his ability and his control, he's got absolutely everything that all the top artists have. Martin just hasn't got that multi-million pound contract and promotion behind him, but sometimes I think personally that independent artists and guys like Martin, it's better for them to not have that, because If there is a record label who has spent that amount of money on an artist, they are so invested in that artist, they want that artist to look a particular way and they want them to sound a particular way, and they will manufacture them to be the artist that they want them to be, rather than somebody who can just be themselves, think outside the box, and just give you fantastic music and fantastic performances. And we've certainly got that here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to look at this whole video, but the link's going to be in the description below if you guys want to check out the whole thing, because it's definitely worth a watch from start to finish. But thank you so much for suggesting this one for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!